Hello friends, this is a recording for Lab 1 for A&P. I'm going to share my screen in a second so that we can review what the requirements are for the actual lab. But I want to remind you, if you go onto the Blackboard page and you click under Lab Resources, you can scroll down and open up the Lab 1 folder and you will see all of the resources that you need for Lab 1. One of the things you're going to see is the bloodborne pathogens PowerPoint presentation. You need to watch that carefully, and then you need to take the pathogens quiz. You need to get at least an 80% on the pathogens quiz in order to continue in the class. So please take your time and do that. It is not a timed quiz. You can start and stop, but it needs to be submitted by September the 8th. Okay? The other part of the lab for Lab 1 is the safety data sheet exercise. You need to go online. You need to just Google an SDS for ethanol and an SDS for formaldehyde, and you can garner all the information you need from your SDS. The SDS is a reference tool. It tells you everything you need to know about whatever chemical you're looking up. It'll tell you its composition, its reactivity, its potential hazards, handling, storage, everything you need is in the SDS. So do that, and then you need to take the SDS quiz, which you'll also find in that folder. And again, that one, you can start and stop as many times as you need to, but it needs to be submitted by September the 8th. Okay, now I'm going to share screen here and just quickly review Lab 1. I know some of you have already done Lab 1, but we'll go over this anyway for those of you who weren't able to join one of the meeting times. So carefully review the objectives here for what you need to know. Lab safety is pretty basic, right? There's no eating, there's no drinking. You have to be properly clothed, you have to have proper footwear. And for the young ladies or gentlemen who have longer hair, I would suggest you bringing, when and if we ever get back into the lab, bringing a hair elastic with you so you can tie your hair back out of the way. Again, you can scroll through and see what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. Here's the bloodborne pathogens directions. Again, take a look at the presentation, make sure you understand it, and then open up the quiz, take the quiz. The quiz is automatically graded, and I will see those grades, and if you have at least an 80, you are all set. Hand washing, I know we've heard a lot about hand washing lately in the midst of this pandemic, but hand washing is always standard practice in the lab. You wash your hands for 15 or 20 seconds with hot soapy water. Dry your hands with a paper towel. You use the paper towel to shut off the faucets. Pretty standard safety stuff. Next up again is that SDS assignment. We went over that. And now we start talking about anatomical position. It's really important that you understand what anatomical position is, because all of the nomenclature and the movements are based off of standard anatomical position. So in anatomical position, you would be standing or lying, legs together, feet together. If you're standing up, your feet are flat on the floor, your arms are down at your sides, your palms are facing forward, and your head is straight. That is standard anatomical position. And then the two questions you have to answer here after you draw your little picture is, what two roots describe human anatomical position? And the hint here is think locomotion. How do we get from point A to point B? And how does that compare with how a cat gets from point A to point B? So you need to give that a little bit of thought there. And then you're going to be defining these terms. Some of these terms refer solely to the cat. For example, cranial caudal, because caudal is referring to the tail end. Clearly we don't have a tail end, so that's the cat. Also the dorsal ventral, the top and bottom, that's also referring to the cat. The rest we can use for either the cat or the human. Next, just some practice here with directions and these terminologies. So for example, on the first little smiley face there, it tells you to draw a star medial to the eyes. Well, we know that medial means closer to the middle. So if you're going to draw a star that's medial to your eyeballs, you're going to draw it right between your eyes. Okay? Or the next one is a circle lateral to your nose on the right side. Lateral means away from the midline. So you would draw a circle between your nose and your ear on the right side. So you just need to go through and draw those little pictures there. Then describing body parts, again, using those anatomical terms and directions. So for example, the lungs are blank to the heart. Well, you could say that the lungs are posterior to the heart. That would be one correct answer. Or for example, the sternum is blank to the heart. The sternum would be anterior to the heart. Okay, so fill those in with the proper terms. Then it's going to ask you to draw a little house. Again, using terms. This next section here on anatomical terminology, I really want to point this out to you because a lot of people get this messed up. So when we're talking about an arm, we're talking about the segment of that appendage from your shoulder to your elbow. That is your arm. Your forearm would then be from your elbow to your wrist. Similarly, your thigh is from your hip to your knee. Your leg is from your knee to your ankle. And your trunk is your axial skeleton. Okay? So if I'm asking you to flex your forearm, I'm asking you to bring your forearm up closer to your arm, right? You're decreasing the angle between those two bones. If I ask you, on the other hand, to flex your arm, I'm asking you to raise your arm up so that you're decreasing the angle between your arm and your shoulder, okay? So it's important that you recognize and understand the differences between those things. And then you can go through and practice demonstrating these movements. These movements oppose one another, right? Flexion, you decrease the angle between two bones. Extension, you increase the angle. Adduction and abduction, people always mess this one up. If something is abducted, it's taken away, right? So abduction is to move away from the midline, whereas adduction is you're adding it back in. You're moving back towards the midline, okay? And then there are some specialized terms just for the limbs. Pronation and supination refers to the forearms. Again, so pronation would be your palms facing posteriorly. Supination, your palms are facing anteriorly. Dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, those refer to your foot. Plantar flexion is what ballerinas do. They go up on their toes. That's plantar flexing. Whereas dorsiflexion, you're back on your heels. Okay, so you're going to read through those and practice those movements. And then combining body movements. So for example, if you're going to say no, you are going to rotate your head laterally and then rotate your head medially, right? No, no. Or if you want to tell somebody yes, you would flex and extend, right? So you're going to go through and you're going to fill in those for the different movements. Just take your time and think about them. And then this last part, structure function. For example, he wants you to make analogies. So if I take my thumb and my index finger and I pinch them together, what could that be analogous to? Like tweezers or pliers or tongs or something. Okay, you can't use that one, but that's the kinds of things that we want you to write here. You don't have to write a book. You can be succinct. That's fine. And then at the end here, you're not going to mail your labs to Dr. J. You're going to send them to me. If you are working off a hard copy in your lab manual, you can, if you have a scanner, you can scan those into your computer and send them as a PDF or a doc file, whichever you can do. If you don't have that, then you can take a picture of them on your phone and you can mail them to me that way. If you're working with this lab online and you can convert that and write online and draw online, good luck with that. I can't do that very well, but if you do that, again, you can just save it as a PDF and send it to me. Okay, but all of your lab work comes to me. Dr. J is the lecture professor. I will be handling the lab assignments. All right. So again, the three things we need for for this lab is the actual lab, the pathogens quiz, and the SDS quiz. Okay, I will continue to hold meetings on Tuesday and Wednesday starting at 7, and on Thursday starting at 4. If for whatever reason you can't join me for one of those times, please email me so that we can check in. We can arrange a different time to meet, the two of us, if that's better. But at least I want you to check in with me every week in one way or another. Okay, and when you do that, then you earn yourself some bonus points for your lab grade. Okay, so without any further ado, that will wrap up Lab 1. Thank you.